What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2006 Honda Accord LX. Up front is a 2.4-liter inline-4, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Honda Accord for two reasons. First of all, I haven't really spent much time with this, the 7th generation of Accord. But the second reason is the fact that it is manual, and I think this is one of the best used cars you can purchase if you're looking at getting into a manual vehicle. So, plenty of things to love about this review. But if you would like to share your vehicle that you love so much with me, you can head on over to my website, zackpreidel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 2.4-liter inline-4 under the hood. Well, it is known as the K24 and is a very, very well-known Honda engine used from the early 2000s, and I love it. The K24 puts out about 166 horsepower here in this particular Accord, and while that might not be a record-breaking number, it does offer a very nice, very solid power band and is relatively rev-happy. So when you want to have fun, you can get it up to that 6,500 RPM red line and have a good time. However, the true name of the game with this engine is reliability. In the 3 years of ownership of which the owner Louis has had this Accord, he has done nothing but oil changes and recently did brake pads and rotors just because the vehicle was getting older, not because it was completely required. So if you want a car that you can drive hard and put away wet, the Accord manual is there for you. Gotta love a K24. You just gotta love a K24. Now, like I said, paired to it is a manual transmission. It's one of the main attractors to this vehicle that I had and why I wanted to review it. The shifter feel is fantastic. It's top of the class, and you will be hard-pressed to find a better shifter than this. However, the owner actually put a stage 1 clutch and a stock RSX flywheel from an Acura RSX, and that changed the pedal feel drastically. It is very, very heavy. However, it is more confident. When you do put it into gear, there's this more of a muscle car feeling to it, which does feel nice when you're used to it. But getting into this car after driving a Miata, boy, am I in for a leg workout. So that is not how this car normally comes. Normally, the clutches are super light and super friendly. So if you're looking to go to a stage 1 clutch with an RSX flywheel, just know it's going to change how it feels quite a bit. Last but not least about the drivetrain, of course, the Accord is front-wheel drive. So how does it feel to actually drive the manual Accord? It's great. It doesn't really like slow cruising, but I think that's because of that aftermarket clutch. It loves to rev, and the overall dynamics of the car are pretty nice. It feels light on its feet, it feels athletic, and it feels ready for the job. Over the years since, the Honda Accord has gotten rather bloated, and that's not to say that I haven't since 2006. But this feels young and enthusiastic. It feels limber. This car can run a 5K at the drop of a hat after a night of heavy drinking without any dire consequences. Anyone who's in their 30s knows that that is quite the feat to conquer. So, that's just how it feels to drive this particular vehicle. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my tachometer, in the center is my speedometer, and off to the right is my fuel and coolant temperature. These gauges are massive and very, very hard to miss. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my volume, channel, and mode button, and off to the right, I do have my cruise control settings. The overall look and feel of the steering wheel is pretty nice. However, the Honda badge is chipping, and the only reason I point this out is because it is chipping in every single Honda that I've ever driven from this era. So if you find one to buy and it has a chipping badge, don't worry, it happens on all of them. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent, as well as 3 dead switches, giving away the fact that this is the LX model. And moving on to the door, I have my latch to get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, I get 2 climate control vents along with the hazard switch. And then I have the radio. So this is before the era of screens or screens dominating the interior of a car. So I do have a little digital readout for my radio station and volume. I do have CD and aux, my different memory options, things like that. And then we have the climate controls somewhat integrated into the radio, which I think looks nice, but would probably make it pretty tricky to switch to an aftermarket radio here in the Accord. The climate controls are very simple. Fan speed off to the left, temperature off to the right, where to send it sort of sprinkled throughout. And then we do have this giant opening cubby, of which we'll find pretty much nothing in there. And then we do have an openable power outlet and not an ashtray, even though this is exactly where ashtrays and cigarette lighters are in every other car. I guess Honda has to tell you that it's not because the plastic might melt. Then we move on to the shifter. Like the flywheel, this is actually an RSX shift knob, which I recognize right away as an old friend. I used to drive a fair amount of RSXs back in my early days on YouTube. So it's very welcomed here. And like I said, the shifter has an amazing throw, amazing feeling, and I can't say enough good things about it. Then we do have cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Honda Accord from 2006. And this is a tough one. I really genuinely thought that it would pass in this back one. And if you really muscle it in there, it will actually fit and stay. So I'm going to give the Honda Accord a pass of the big friggin' bottle test, but it's not very happy about it, but you know, a win is a win, as they say. Then we do get a dual opening center console, and the seats are cloth. However, they are comfortable. They are a sort of more 90s cloth than a cloth that we would see traditionally today. And I prefer this older style of cloth. It feels almost like pipe cleaner material, but in a very good way, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's coming across in the video, but I like these cloth seats. I think they're comfy, and that's all that matters. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2006 Honda Accord, and first thing right off the bat, so much room. My knees don't have a prayer of hitting the seat in front of me. My head is not hitting the ceiling, although there is some pretty severe headliner issues, but just the space is fantastic, and that's the big selling point of this year Accord over this year Civic. I know if you're looking for a used car and you want something manual, the Civic and Accord are going to look pretty similar, but this is one of the biggest deciding factors, is the backseat space. I could sprawl out back here and take a good long nap and be very, very comfortable. So if you prioritize backseat space, go Honda Accord. Also, little fun factor, pro tip for you, more often than not, the Honda Accords weren't as riced out and modified and just junked like the Civics were. The Civics were so easily affordable, and a lot of parents bought them for their kids, so they turned them into hot rods and then pretty much ruined them. It's easier to find a good condition manual Accord than it is a good condition manual Civic. So, just a little word to the wise. I do also have a center console. If I can grab it, there's no sort of loop. There are cup holders in there, and there is a pass-through to the trunk. Speaking of which, let's hop out. We'll see where that pass-through leads. All right, so we're on the back of the 06 Accord. We do have a trunk popper here on the key fob. Just like that, and it'll pop it up a little bit, like it's trying to say something, and then you pull it up the rest of the way. Nothing really spectacular to write home about in the back of the Accord. Not really blown away by the space or anything like that. However, it is very, very large, which I miss about more modern vehicles. This was a very good era for trunk space. And this Accord, man, I mean, I could crawl up there, I could curl up in a ball and get my full 8 hours in there. So really, really enjoy how much space there is, even though it's not that flashy. And we can come down here with these spare tires. So this does get a spare tires before Honda stopped offering that, which is very, very nice. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is one of the quintessential macaroni styling vehicles. Macaroni styling is a term I coined of vehicles from the 2000s that were sort of blobby, sort of ugly, but because I grew up in the 2000s, they're like a comfort food to me. They make me feel warm and special, and I like them solely because I grew up with them, similar to how I grew up on Kraft mac and cheese. So This is definitely mac and cheese styling. I don't think it's outwardly very pretty, but to me, anytime I see one of these, I always get excited. My cousin had a V6 automatic one of these that he took well into the 200,000s. I believe it actually touched 300,000 before he went off to college and upgraded his car. So, stylistically, I'm a big fan. But with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 2006 Honda Accord manual? Well, this video for me isn't really breaking any new ground. I kind of knew that I was going to like it before I even stepped foot in the vehicle. The reason for that is that Honda, in my book, has had a really good track record throughout this era. Almost anything from this decade, the 2000s, I've driven and I've liked. But I still wanted to showcase this car. I still wanted to make this video because I think this is one of the best kept automotive secrets. You can find these for not super expensive, and they're easy to maintain. They're affordable to maintain. There's not a whole lot of guesswork that has to go into them. I think it's a good mix of modernness, where it has a CD and an aux. You can easily get an adapter for the infotainment for modern music. It has air conditioning and power windows and a pretty modern engine, but it's not overly modern where it's overly complicated and super expensive. It doesn't have Honda's new turbo engine, which have not had fantastic reliability when it comes to oil consumption. Is this going to be the most exciting automobile to show up to at your friend's bachelor party? No, far from it. But if you are someone who's into cars, you want something that's manual, you want something that's not gonna give you a headache anytime you go to try starting it, with modern enough tech, with decent enough features, this is a really stinking good car to go for. And so that's why I wanted to drive Louis' 6-speed Accord. Just show off that this is a really good option. And all the time, people email me, text me, DM me, saying, hey, what should I get as my first car? Well, wonder no more. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Louis for letting me take out his Honda Accord. I was so excited to film this video. Louis has been absolutely awesome to work with. Very nice guy, very knowledgeable about these cars, which is all fantastic, and he has been a generous asset to the channel. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.